Garten of Banban 5, the secret chapter that has mascot horror fans going bananas. Between the creepy green mutant monster to the red film that covers every image on the Steam page, not to mention the fact that Chapter 4 menu seems to completely skip this chapter while promoting Chapter 6. There is something incredibly fishy going on here, and let me tell you this, it is no mistake by the Euphoric brothers. You see, upon originally gaining early access to Garten of Banban 4, I noticed in my initial playthrough that the menu was glitched or bugged. It looked like the Euphoric brothers had made a mistake in their programming and accidentally added a Roman numeral 1 to the 5. So, being a nice guy, I reached out to them, letting them know of this issue, to make them more aware of it before it released to the public. To which they responded, the fact that we are doing Garten of Banban 6 right after Garten of Banban 4 is intentional. So now, the question I have is why? Why on earth would they completely skip a game chapter? It makes no sense at all. And unless you're a theory nerd like myself, you would think this chapter was actually completely hidden. Unless you looked closely at the Euphoric Brothers Steam profile, that is. To which you would find not only the page, but also the screenshots of the chapter, but a strange familiarity to the images we seen in Chapter 1, except the fact that they seem to have this giant green mutant peeking behind the walls of the lunchroom of the kindergarten. And oddly enough, this is the exact location where we are left a secret tape which might show proof of what exactly happened that godforsaken day at the kindergarten. You see, this mutated monster has been setting the Banban lore junkies, including myself, for a loop. What or who is it? Is he a mutant child? Some kind of offspring from Zolphius? Or maybe even a crazed alien that feeds on the brains of the children at the kindergarten? Whatever the case may be, one thing is for certain. We are going to get to the bottom of it in today's video. So, for starters, I think the best place to start our investigation is the day that started this whole terrifying mascot journey, otherwise known as Meet a Friend Day. You see, it was on this tragic day that the children were brought together to meet a friend, or so they thought. However, this is actually filled with a ton of lore that you might have not really picked up on unless you went back and explored Chapter 1's notes. And before we even get into too much detail, let's just do a recap of what we already know. For starters, it looks like some scientists were running experiments using this thing called gervanium, which more or less mutated genetics to make either a mutant creature, some type of crossbreed between an animal and a human, or something completely worse. We also know that anything that was created using this gervanium that wasn't presentable to the public was sent down far into the abyss darkness, or as we now know, the lower levels of the kindergarten. And based off of note number 5, you can see they have already sent a few characters down there. They included the spider, the frog, the snail, and of course, Zolphius had been down there the whole time, even making mention of keeping him down there asleep and making sure nobody goes to investigate. But one thing really sticks out to me in note 5, and it really has a lot to do with the second to last paragraph, where it says, I was torn between the green guy and the snail for the last one, making reference of a green guy, which could, I guess, be Jumbo Josh. But what if it's talking about our mysterious little friend here in the picture? You see, in the next paragraph, it even mentions, but hey, at least we were offered to have them drawn on the walls to not let them be forgotten. But wait a second, we have never seen any mention or any drawings of this character. But a green guy that we have seen plenty of is Jumbo Josh. So are they talking about this green alien looking creature? Well, we could get more into that a little bit later, but first let's go ahead and discuss what exactly happened on that day. You see, if you look at note number 6, it says this is bad. This is very bad. I just revised the architecture behind the ball pit, and it's a miracle this thing hasn't collapsed yet. The thing can barely support the amount of children we have enrolled in the kindergarten, and we're having double that tomorrow. To make things even worse, whoever wrote this letter also says something really bad is going to happen, and we need to be as far away from here as humanly possible when it does. We've been on the bad side of the wrong people for a long time, and if we're still here when everything goes down, it will be the end of both of us. If not at the hands of angry parents, then at the hands of our superiors. Do not bring anyone's attention to this matter unless you wish us both a big involuntary dive into the abyss. A place like this should not exist. The stuff we've witnessed here should not exist. The casualties that will result from this catastrophe will only serve the greater good, which is shutting down this place once and for all. I'll have a plan ready for tomorrow. Now you just pack your things. So now the question is, who wrote this letter? Well, see, it's quite easy. This was written by Dr. Uthman himself, and he's writing it to none other than Miss Mason, as it's pretty obvious that both of them with their boarding passes planned on escaping really soon. And you see, Dr. Uthman knew that this was going to be a horrible idea, and it looks like, based off of note number 4, that he tried to control this from happening, even asking to reduce the number of cases that were being tested on. And it looks like his superiors denied his request, as they were hungry to impress their clients and getting a product to be shown on Bring a Friend Day. And of course, we already know what probably happened based off of that kindergarten cassette tape that we found in the lunchroom. Hearing the crashing and of course the child's horrifying screams coming from the distance. But again, how did this all start? What caused it? What made the creatures go into this insane kill spree? Well, if you look closely at this note here on the screen, you will see the foreshadowing of exactly what could have went wrong on that day, and maybe a couple of answers towards who exactly our green friend is in the chapter 5 picture. You see, I believe that this note here on the screen was written by Dr. Uthman himself, coming to his senses to how dangerous this whole laboratory science project could actually be. As he writes that they should have thought this through a little bit better. They were very selfish, and he was never going to be normal, assuming we could even get him out of this place with his size. What was next? And I was watching MatPat's video, to be quite honest with you, and he makes a really good point. Initially, upon reading this note, I thought this whole time they were talking about Jumbo Josh, and the whole point of this science project was to bring a child back to life, placing his motor functions inside of Jumbo Josh's body and giving them back this nice sweet little boy that they had missed for quite some time. But MatPat actually made a really valid point, saying that this wasn't written about Jumbo Josh, but instead about our friend in chapter 5. And obviously, looking closely at him, yes, he is abnormally large, especially when you compare him to a normal child. Now, MatPat also believes that Bring a Friend Day was a way of bringing him out and into the public eye, and doing it in somewhat of a normal way. Of course, with other mascot crazed looking creatures around to make things a little bit more simmered down, he wouldn't stand out as much. But you can see, based off of Uthman's note here, he didn't think that this was going to work out so well. He even writes in the note that what house would he fit in? What school would accept him? What government would allow us to keep this abomination around? Let me answer you. None. We haven't seen what he's capable of when he's angry or scared. I don't want to imagine the consequences. Not to mention how dangerous it is to keep him around those other monstrosities. He plays with them like they're toys, throwing and commanding them around and everything. Sometimes life denies you beautiful gifts, and we should have accepted that. But we're doing the right thing here, and I'm proud of both of us. So let's take a deeper dive into this note and exactly what it means for this godforsaken day at the kindergarten. For one, Uthman mentions that this thing seems to just throw these monstrosities around like they're toys, commanding them around and everything. Which, if we know anything about Jumbo Josh, he was already a part of the original Banban gang. He wasn't treating his friends like they were some type of rag doll. Maybe this giant abomination, also known as the creature that we see in chapter 5, was a reincarnated version of a child gone wrong, who, similar to what we seen in the note 4, is not been fully tested in the public's eye and could bring some danger to what we expect on Meet a Friend Day. And of course, obviously with Uthman knowing that, he books 2 tickets to get out of here as quickly as possible. As with the pressure of the clients, there was no backing out of it, as the corporation had already shut down any signs of failure. And with all these children getting inside of this ball pit, not having enough space to keep them or carry them, it came crashing down, causing a loud noise, sending the monsters into a tizzy, and sending our good green friend here into a complete disaster. And we know what happens from there. The children were absolutely trapped with all the monsters, and things got really, really bad. But there is one thing that I did want to point out about this whole crazed situation. And it is this note that you see here on the screen that says, "I alone. I want to play with the whole bird, but everyone left me. Everyone have party without me. Miss Mason see me, but go. I am scared because hole is loud and my friends screaming it, but the bird is funny." You see, this note here doesn't look like something that was written by a child that is in shock or trauma. For Pete's sake, it says that it wants to play with the whole bird, and even that it is afraid of the loud noises, but the bird is still funny. Sounds to me like somebody wrote this that likes to throw around the monstrosities like they're toys. And if you ask me, I don't believe Jumbo Josh has the cognitive functions to be writing notes like this. But maybe, just maybe, there is a monster that does. Perhaps a monster that wants to be human, or at least was developed to be human. Which brings us to our friend right here on the screen. The poor child who just wanted a chance at normal life, but was rejected time and time again. And you can even see it here on the screen. Everyone have party without me. I alone. Miss Mason see me, but go. And we already know Miss Mason loved her children, loved her students. She would never leave one behind, unless it was the one that was rejected by not only her, but her husband, Dr. Uthman. And these musical notes that you see on this exact note also foreshadow what we will see in Garten of Banban chapter 6's hidden wall. You see, a lot of people probably thought that it was going to be Banban that was going to be uncovered, but no, I think it is our mutant friend here who was rejected by Uthman and the other scientists, and who was sadly left behind. You see, my final theory is that the mutant that you see here in chapter 5 is just a sad, forgotten, and left behind mutant child that just wants to be normal. But unfortunately for him, his creators not only gave up on him, but abandoned him. And you see, I believe chapter 5 is going to be played by the point of view of Dr. Uthman himself. Not Banban and not any of the birds, but Uthman, taking in all of his work and looking for his way out of the building as quickly as possible. So guys, that wraps up another Garten of Banban theory video. If you guys have been enjoying these videos, do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I promise you won't regret it. And of course, hit that like button to show support for this series here. And as always, if you guys have other theories that you would like me to cover, please leave them in the comment section down below. I'll review every single one of them and do another theory on my favorite one. So guys, thank you again for all the love and support, and I will see you in the next one. Till then, peace out!